So yesterday we talked about Jadeveon Clowney and how he's going to help take this Browns defense to the moon. But I also want to focus on the back end of this defense, and the two most significant day one additions that this defense has made was John Johnson and Troy Hill, both from the LA Rams. So the good thing about them being on the same team last year is that I could take a look at them at the same time. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break down the film to see how John Johnson and Troy Hill are going to help make this defense go to the next level that they need to go to and give the Browns what might be one of the most versatile and smart defenses in football. But before I talk about that, I got to make sure I give a shout out to the patreon.com dog check tier members. And I'm going to start with Fred Pratt III, David Valtier, Relentless Buck Chunt, Rex Kaufman, The Real Quincy Carrier, Kevin Johnson, Marino V, Cleveland Cart, Matt H, Sign Sheets, Gemini, Fight Dirty 74, Yo-Yo, Matt Lloyd, Paul Wilcox, Hundo Magnifico, Rob Ferron, Kyle Stouffer, Lukey from Munich, Dave Roth, J Guy 101, Joe Bobby, Brad Calvo, Dylan W, James McGinley, Arenda Hall, Chad Gimme, David Maldonado, Dylan Hale, Josh Bendor, Mark M, TJ Showman, Stuart Moore, Cleveland BCI, Robert Jermaine Jr., Dave Mike May, John Cummings, Andrew Hirsch, Curtis Bear, Brock Kumar, John Albert, Masayua, Buds Roland, James Nemo, Mac House, Reeve Hertz, Philip Wilcoxon, Marie Vivert, Sean Barron, Goggles Pisano, Corporal Nick Lopez, Dom Gazzulo, Nick Nasty, Ian Whitaker, Colin 216, Anthony Latham, Christian, Dave Strong, Matt Stone, Charles Work, Billy Moose Gentry, Mark Burnett II, Andre Griffin, Otis Wolf, Dog Pound Kai, Greg Ehlers, Austin Bolin, Kirkabar, Lydia Mahawk, Jesus Serrano, Chris Phones, Picktown Browns backers, Mark Kahn, Max Owl Dojo, and Water Bear Marketing. Again, guys, thank you so much for the support, and also thank you to all the people who wait the 1 minute it takes me to give these people their just due. They support the channel, they give the channel the funding and everything else that it needs to make sure that I can continue to pump out videos 5 days a week during the season, 7 days a week. So again, guys, thank you for that. Thank you for your patience. Now, let's talk about the Browns and Troy Hill and John Johnson. You guys ready for this two-pack coming off of the Jadeveon Clowney film review? Now we're going to look at John Johnson and Troy Hill because, you know, they were both on the same defense last year, and that was one of the best defenses in football. It's a loaded one, right? Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, everybody else is there. Obviously, John Johnson, Troy Hill that the Browns now have, and it's pretty analogous to what the Browns do, because if you look at the Rams, they do run a ton of zone just like the Cleveland Browns. You know, if you look at the two big heavy hitters in the Rams defense, when you look at Jalen Ramsey and obviously Aaron Donald, the Browns have two guys who kind of mirror that, right? Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, who in their own rights are just as good in their conference as those guys are in their conference. So that is all interesting that they're going to a situation where they can be great support to some skeleton of talent that's there, or at least two great players that are already there. And that's going to allow those two great players to do more things. It's also going to allow these guys to do more things. So the first thing we're going to look at is a play here from Troy Hill. And, you know, I know it's kind of hard to get a read on what kind of players defensive backs are, especially with highlights and TV broadcast angles, because you can't really see everything. So this is why I wanted to do this specific film review, so we can have a better idea of the players that Troy Hill and John Johnson are. And we're going to look at Troy Hill. And one of the things I noticed that Troy Hill's very good at, and let me back this up so you guys can know where Troy Hill is. He's right here. He goes in the slot. He also plays on the boundary opposite of Jalen Ramsey a lot, so he's an inside-outside guy. You look at him, right? It looks like he got beat here because this is a comeback route. He's playing off coverage. You know, he's in a little bit of a zone look here. And he sees the ball's about to go to Andy Isabella. And then watch how he breaks on it and makes a play. Closing speed. That's what you need, especially in the Browns defense. He's going to be playing a ton of zone here, so being able to have that closing speed, being able to play off zone coverage is very similar to what Greg Newsome can do, right, when we look at his film. Now we're going to look at John Johnson for a little while here. And John Johnson, man, he is freaky versatile. In this game, you're going to see him a lot in the box. He can be a strong safety. He can be a free safety. But I do think you'll see him alternate between being a sub linebacker linebacker and being a strong safety most of the time here, which is going to allow you to do some interesting things with the other DBs that you have on the roster. And now with JOK. So you're going to see John Johnson. He's lined up here on this play, and the highlighter is actually going to be necessary this week with the film reviews because these guys play all over the field. But there is John Johnson. He's kind of playing a sub linebacker position here, and he's going to be defending against the run. And we're going to see him come off a guard. You see him engage with that guard and then make the play on the running back. That's the type of strength you need from somebody who's going to be able to come in there and play some sub linebacker, because now if you have a guy like John Johnson who can be a sub linebacker, now you can, draw up scenarios to where you can either have him and Ronnie Harrison in there as technically linebackers, but just because you want to have extra athletic ability in there, more than likely you're going to have him in there with JOK, right? JOK is a very versatile guy. He's pretty much a borderline safety kind of dude. Same thing there with John Johnson. And if you have those two as your linebackers, you're pretty athletic there. You can have Troy Hill at the nickel. You can have Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward out there, and you can have Grant and Ronnie Harrison still out there. And now you have a defense that's mobile, athletic, and maybe able to do some of the things that the Chargers were able to do, or other teams with more DBs were able to do against the Ravens when it comes to being able to stop, that multiple run look that they have there with the quarterback and also some of those tight ends. So this is something that's going to be key, right? John Johnson's ability to get in there and actually be a decent linebacker if he needs to. And he does that quite often in this game. He does that quite often with the Rams. Again, this ability to stand at that linebacker position and actually play some real linebacker against the run, that's going to be huge. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing if you can put John Johnson and JOK both out there with all those athletic guys that I just mentioned. It's another thing entirely when you can have JOK and John Johnson out there as the linebackers and you're not really sacrificing when it comes to run defense here, right? If you can defend a run with JOK and John Johnson, and look, if you look at JOK's college tape, you would be pretty sure that he can stop the run. And if you look at what John Johnson has done in the NFL, you can see that he can stop the run. And if you can stop the run out of that look, that type of versatility and that type of ability to just stay in a weird base defense like that, and be athletic like the Browns could be athletic with all those guys I just mentioned, that's going to be something that's going to be very hard to game plan against for other offenses. So that's a critical thing that John Johnson does bring to the table that I want to make sure I highlight here. This is another play with John Johnson. We talked about Lamar and what he can do and the obvious stresses that he puts on the defense. You want a guy who's going to be able to kind of not necessarily be as athletic as Lamar, because you're not really going to find anybody like that on defense that you're going to want to use as a spy, but somebody who could be smart enough to crash down, take a decent angle, and Kyler's going to get 6 or 7 here, but it's much better than the 15 more yards he could have got if that tackle isn't made. All right, so John Johnson here in a red zone snap. You see him at the will linebacker position. Again, this is going to be something that's going to be interesting to see what the Browns can do here, because, again, you can get very versatile here, because you can see where the will could be him, John Johnson, or you might want to have John Johnson as the Sam and then have JOK here at the will with Anthony Walker right there at the strong, or maybe if you're worried about them running or doing something more athletic or a pass, you can have Malcolm Smith out there. Obviously, you will have your normal red corners, so Greedy or Greg Newsome, whoever that is. Obviously, that's going to be Denzel Ward, or you can have Denzel Ward now that you have Troy Hill follow guys, which is something I'm going to get into a little later on, and then you can have Grant Delpit over top. Again, Grant's probably not going to be ready to go to like week 6, 8, or 10. Like, it's going to be later in the season. But once that's ready to go, you have a lot of interesting looks. Unfortunately for the Browns, they're not going to really play a ton of division games until they get to that portion of the season. So that's also another positive of the schedule that just came out. But you're going to see here that from that will linebacker position, John Johnson does a great job of setting that edge or getting out there, figuring it out, and then flattening him and then making that tackle short of the goal line. Again, he can actually play linebacker. And that's a huge, huge positive, right? The Browns have not many linebackers that you want to see take a ton of snaps. Like JOK is obviously somebody you're excited about. Malcolm Smith is somebody who was pretty good last year. And then after that, you got question marks. After that, you got question marks. You got guys who might be good in certain situations, like Sione Takitaki against the run, but not necessarily a bunch of dudes out there that can keep this rotation going. You have Anthony Walker, obviously, who's going to be a more solid dude on that front. But the ability to put John Johnson there at the linebacking position and know that he can live out there, not just live, make plays. That is a huge thing when it comes to the versatility of this defense. That's the most important thing I think John Johnson brings. Obviously, his ability as a strong safety is going to be important, but I think this ability right here is going to be what allows the Browns, if they can take advantage of it, to take that next step as a defense and be something that is not just top 15, right, good enough to win with, but something that is legitimately very difficult for offenses to deal with. And when you already have a Browns offense, it's difficult for defenses. You're just putting a lot of stress on coaching staffs. And when you put teams in that position, you end up winning a ton of games in football. So this is what you want to see. Again, another play here where they have John Johnson in that linebacker position. He's kind of playing a sub linebacker here. And again, he can make plays from that position. He's not just living out there. He can make plays from the linebacking position. And I think this is where he could see a ton of snaps here. And again, this is another example of John, and this is against the Giants, just having good spatial awareness, being able to crash down, being able to be physical, and being able to make tackles in the box like you want him to, right? He comes down, he sees the screen, boom, tackles him behind the line of scrimmage, lost like 4 yards. That's a great play. Now let's talk about Troy Hill more, right? We didn't talk about Troy Hill that much. I think we kind of touched on him at the beginning of this video, but let's talk about Troy Hill and what he does as a corner, right? And we kind of saw it with that first play where he was playing off zone and closes out, is that he is patient, but he is quick and he can attack downhill as a corner. Now I circled Troy Hill on the screen for you guys, and this is a play here that kind of epitomizes what Troy Hill does well. He's patient. He knows when to attack, and when he does, he's pretty quick on attacking the ball here. Just like you saw in that first play, you'll see this right here. He's in the slot. Andy Isabella's going up against him. He knows it's going to be an out route. He hops it, boom, takes it to the house. Right? Patience and identifying. He is a he is a very good zone corner. Like, he is meant to play zone corner in the NFL. That's what he's going to play here in Cleveland, right? He's going to play a ton of zone corner, and he knows how to do that well. I think he's a undrafted guy or a late round dude, so he doesn't have, he doesn't test off the charts or anything like that. But he is a very patient, very smart, and very aware corner. And again, you needed that because last year you were kind of missing out on that for the Cleveland Browns, especially in the middle of the field. And as you see more Troy Hill plays, you'll see why Troy Hill is just a really good fit here for the Cleveland Browns. He is a good zone corner. He's physical at the point of attack. He's really what you've been missing from your nickel corners for a while here. And you're going to see him kind of be able to slide out smooth, check that running back, and then make the tackle on the running back right here, right? That physicality is what you need to be able to succeed in the secondary, especially with what the Browns are trying to do this year. And I want you guys to watch this. The ball didn't go to Troy Hill, but this is who Troy Hill is in coverage. He's somebody who's strong, he's physical, he's also smart, so he can kind of get away with things. He plays like a veteran, even though he's not that old. He's only like 24, 25. But you're going to see him at the top of this route really just get physical and then just jam it up. That's how you do it. I want to talk about Troy Hill's versatility. And one of the things that helps him is that he can go in and he can go out, right? He can play inside. He can be a boundary corner. He can do both things as long as he's in zone, right? His strength is in zone. You don't want to put him in man a ton because he's not necessarily the athletic dude who's going to test off the charts that you want to leave out on an island. That's Denzel Ward. But what Troy Hill allows you to do, since he is an inside out guy, and why I think you're going to see a ton of snaps, regardless of what Greg Newsome or what Greedy Williams does in training camp, you're going to see a ton, and I mean a ton of snaps for Troy Hill, is that versatility, right? That inside, outside, versatility, because what that allows the Browns to do and what that allowed the Rams to do was allow Jalen Ramsey to shadow, right? If Jalen needs to be in the slot, it's no problem because you could put Troy Hill outside and you can live like that. The same thing now for the Browns. The issue with where Denzel Ward couldn't really travel with dudes anymore, or at least before this, was because, you didn't really have anybody who can switch in and out that you trusted. Like, you didn't want Kevin Johnson switching in and out all game when he can barely cover inside. Now you can have Denzel Ward follow the top wide receiver, go and play the slot a little bit more, go and play outside more often and be in man and play to Denzel's strength. So bringing in Troy Hill is going to make Denzel Ward better, because instead of Denzel Ward and teams being able to dictate their matchups with Denzel Ward based on where he's going to line up on the field, now you can have Denzel Ward dictate who he's going to be on. You can have Denzel Ward follow whoever it is he needs to follow for an entire game, because if Denzel has to line up in the slot, we got Troy out here. We could just kick Troy out. Ain't no problem. You're not really that worried about it. So these are the things, the small things, the personnel things that help make a defense play to its potential and help make specific players play to its potential. And Troy Hill is a big part of that. So that's what Troy Hill brings you, and that's what Troy Hill gives you, and that's how Troy Hill benefits Denzel Ward. Another thing Troy Hill can help you out with is, again, if you want to be in a lot of nickel packages and you want to play a little smaller with more DB type guys, like you want to have your JOKs out there, you want to have John Johnson, you want to have Ronnie Harrison, you want to have Grant Delpit, you want to have Troy Hill, you want to have Denzel Ward, you want to have Greg Newsome on the field. Well, you got to make sure that some of these DBs that you're bringing into play, some of these box positions, can actually tackle and are physical enough to play against the run. Luckily for the Browns, Troy Hill is physical enough to play against the run, because you see him, he's kind of in the box here. He's outside the box technically, but he's right out there. He's able to come in, crash down, make this play against the run. So that is what Troy Hill is. That's what Troy Hill is going to bring you. John Johnson, on the other hand, and I think he's going to be lined up outside here at the top. John Johnson is somebody who his strength, his awareness, his physicality, and his ability to go from strong to Will or Sam linebacker, if you really want him to, and actually play good, productive snaps, is also something that's going to benefit this team, because that's really going to help take these guys to the next level. It's going to be able to put young guys like JOK in the right position. You're going to see them just crash down, be mean here on that tackle. And that's going to put guys in positions to win games. That's going to put this team and this defense in its best position. And also it's going to force offenses to kind of bend to the will of this defense. And then also, let's not forget, Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett and Malik Jackson are there on the defensive line trying to cause havoc and trying to rush the ball out. So on paper, this looks like this can really work out. These offseason signings, and especially by getting Greg Newsome and JOK in the draft, they really add a ton of versatility in there that could stress offenses out if they get this thing going to where its potential is going to be. Now, will they do that? Is Joe Woods going to be able to take care of that? And that's going to be another question for another day, and we got to wait till actual football goes now to know that. But potential on paper, everything that you're seeing, this is all very good stuff here, because you have a safety who can come down and play some meaningful and productive snaps, both against the pass and against the runs versus tight ends and everything else, in the linebacking position and at the strong safety position. You have JOK, who we know is very versatile, can play linebacker, can do a little bit in coverage, and also can go against the run, despite him not being the biggest guy in the world. And you got a guy like Troy Hill who can go inside and outside, that can allow Denzel Ward to follow whoever he needs to follow, and really just free up this defense, so they're not worried about a top guy switching or who has the communication here or there. They can just kind of play football. So these additions, outside of just what they bring personnel wise, the versatility that they bring are going to be something that's going to help elevate the other guys on this roster. But that's my thoughts about this film review, the two games I've looked at when it comes to Troy Hill and John Johnson. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.